What does it take to be the best player in the world? Picture a season that should have settled that question for good. Top scorer in La Liga, top scorer in the Champions League, top scorer at the World Cup. Nobody had managed all three in one season since 1966. Not Messi, not Ronaldo. Just Kylian Mbappé and a Portuguese striker named Eusebio that almost nobody alive has ever seen play. And when that record-breaking season ended, Mbappé walked away without a single trophy. If this is your first time here, this channel is about looking past the highlight reels and actually explaining the game. Subscribe if that's your thing. There's more of this coming. Everyone has a theory for why. He's too selfish. He doesn't press hard enough. He and Vinícius can't share a pitch. I've read every version of that argument, and most of it aims at the wrong target. By the end of this video, you'll see the real gap. Not the vague one people keep repeating, but the specific one hiding underneath it. Here's what almost nobody says out loud. When people argue about whether Mbappé is the best player in the world, they're not having one argument. They're having four separate arguments and treating them like they're the same conversation. Stay with me, because once you pull them apart, the picture gets both clearer and stranger. You already know the outline. Monaco's academy, PSG at 18, French champion at 19, the club's all-time leading scorer. In 2023, the Saudi club Al Hilal offered him close to 700 million euros for a single season, enough to make him the highest paid athlete in history. He refused to even take the meeting. He wanted one thing, and it wasn't the money, it was Real Madrid. That detail matters more than it looks like, because it tells you this was never a player chasing numbers. In 2024, he finally signed for the club that had chased him for 6 years. The timeline isn't the interesting part. The test we're applying to it is because the best player in the world usually means one of four different things, and people rarely say which one they mean. How much he produces individually, how he performs on the biggest stage football has, whether his team wins with him on the pitch, and whether the people who watch football professionally every single week rank him at the top. 4 scoreboards. Let's go through each one because the order matters. Start with the one nobody disputes. Individual production. That 2025 to 2026 season wasn't good. It was statistically unprecedented. Top scorer in his domestic league, top scorer in the Champions League, top scorer at the World Cup, all in the same season. The last man to pull that off was Eusebio back in 1966. Neither Messi nor Ronaldo ever managed it across their entire careers. On this scoreboard, Mbappé isn't elite. He's alone. To put that in perspective, most professional forwards go an entire career without leading even one of those 3 competitions in scoring. Mbappé led all 3 in the same 12 months. The same story plays out on the sport's single biggest stage. At the 2026 World Cup, he became the first man in history to win the Golden Boot twice. He passed Messi to become the tournament's all-time leading scorer, with 22 goals across 4 World Cups. Whatever else is true about his career, when the whole world is watching and the stakes are highest, he shows up every single time. If you're enjoying this, hit subscribe. It helps a lot. Here's the part that should confuse you. If he's the best individual performer alive and the best big tournament performer alive, why does the "is he the best" debate even exist? Because there's a third scoreboard, and it's the one his career keeps failing. Team success. Zoom out to that same record-breaking season. Real Madrid finished it with 0 major trophies. Second in La Liga, 8 points behind Barcelona. Knocked out of the Champions League by Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals. Beaten 3-2 by Barcelona in the Spanish Super Cup final, a match Mbappé played in and scored in. France's World Cup ended 2 rounds early in the semi-final against Spain. This isn't a one-season problem either. Since Mbappé joined Real Madrid, he has lost every single knockout match he's played against Spain or against Barcelona's Lamine Yamal specifically. The 2024 Euros semi-final, the 2025 Nations League semi-final, the 2026 World Cup semi-final. 3 tournaments, 3 knockout rounds, 3 losses, 1 recurring opponent on the other side of the pitch. Some of that comes down to fit, not form. Real Madrid's biggest tactical headache since he arrived is simple to describe and hard to fix. Vinícius Jr. lives in the same channel Mbappé wants to attack from, cutting in off the left, running into the same space behind the same fullback. 2 elite players who do their best work in one specific zone don't multiply each other, they compete for it. Ancelotti shuffled between a front 3 and a front 2 trying to solve it. Xabi Alonso inherited the same puzzle and and hasn't found a clean answer either. Every manager since Mbappé arrived has had to solve that equation, and none of them have solved it yet. Then there's the game that explains the rest better than any stat about goals ever could. Rewind to the Club World Cup semi-final against his old club, PSG, now managed by Luis Enrique, a coach Mbappé never fully bought into during his years in Paris. It was his first start of the tournament, fresh off recovering from illness. Real Madrid lost 4-0. Here's the number that explains the scoreline. Mbappé touched the ball 27 times in 90 minutes, the fewest of any outfield player on the pitch for the full match. 0 chances created, 1 shot on target. Cameras caught his own teammates, Bellingham and Valverde, shouting at him to track back and press. He didn't. Months earlier, that same PSG side had won the club's first ever Champions League title without him. Their top scorer that year and the eventual Ballon d'Or winner was Ousmane Dembélé, a player Enrique had once pulled at halftime for not defending hard enough. He turned that criticism into the best pressing numbers of any forward in Europe. Enrique once summed up the entire philosophy Mbappé spent 7 years resisting. I'd rather have 4 players scoring 12 goals each than one scoring 40. Mbappé is the one scoring 40. Enrique built a team that wins without needing him to. Which brings us to the 4th scoreboard, the one that settles this. What do the people who watch every match professionally every single week think? In 2025, they voted. Ousmane Dembélé won the Ballon d'Or, Mbappé finished 7th, and here's the part that should surprise you. Mbappé didn't argue with it. Asked directly whether he'd vote for Dembélé, he said yes, and added one sentence that ties this entire video together. To win the Ballon d'Or, you have to win trophies. That's not a pundit's verdict on Mbappé. That's Mbappé's verdict on himself. Put the 4 scoreboards side by side, and here's where they land. On individual output, he's unmatched. There's no real precedent for a season like that. On the biggest stage football has to offer, he's unmatched again, arguably the finest tournament finisher alive today. But on team success, his career keeps stalling in the exact same place. 3 knockout losses to the same generation of Spanish talent and 0 trophies in a season that broke scoring records. And on peer recognition, he finished 7th with an honest explanation from the man himself about why. The gap was never talent, it's specific, and he already said it out loud: trophies. Not more goals, not more headlines, proof that a team wins because he's on it, not that it almost wins. When people ask why Mbappé still isn't the best player in the world, most of them reach for the wrong reasons. Ego, chemistry, work rate. The real answer is narrower than that. He's already cleared 3 of 4 tests that almost nobody clears even one of. The last test has nothing to do with becoming a better forward. It's about becoming the reason his team lifts something, not just the reason it almost did. If this is the first time you've seen this argument broken into 4 parts instead of one highlight reel, that's what this channel is built for. Subscribe if you want more of these. And if you want to understand the team that keeps beating him, I've already covered that story. Go watch why Spain became the best team in the world. Again, it explains exactly why that semifinal went the way it did.